what trips people up is once you've built something, and Claude Code doesn't give you an easy way to preview it, an easy way to play around with it. So what I've had to do is do something called deployment, and I've had to deploy it onto a local host. On my computer, in the background, it has spun up a mini server, and it's loaded the files onto this mini server, and then it allows me to access them. So I access them through a URL, which allows me to access and run that information. So this is why things like Lovable, Replit, Bolt, V0, etc. are actually better for absolute beginners, because they deal with that deployment yourself. So in Lovable, you will type in what you want, it will build that, and then it will show you a preview directly. Claude Code won't do that by default. So you either need a plugin to make it give you a preview pane, or you need to spin up a local host server. The great thing is, if you don't know how to do that, you just ask Claude. So this is probably the biggest unlock. It will say to you something like, hey, I've made you a Space Invaders game, just open index.html in a browser to play. And from that, if you have no idea how to do that, you just say to Claude Code, I don't know what that means. Can you please help me? That's the biggest unlock, because previously we might had to go on the web, go to Stack Overflow and ask, how do I do this? Now you can just ask AI. And if it says something like, oh, you just need to spin up a local host and run it in localhost on 3000, and you're like, I don't know what that means, you just tell Claude Code and it will help you work out what you need to do. So yes, you're going to run into barriers. You're going to hit things where it doesn't make any sense. You're going to hit bugs, problems. You ask the AI for the next step, and that's going to allow you to unblock them very quickly. So from here, you direct the AI, you're going to play your Space Invader game. You're going to think, okay, these are parts of it that don't work. These are things that we can improve. And then you just go back to your AI and you provide that information. Obviously, if you were doing a proper project, you'd have to start prioritizing what you want to fix. Like maybe it's fully open and anybody can access anyone's data, regardless of who's logged in. You want to set up proper authorization, user names, passwords, authorization via Google. That's going to be a higher priority than fixing the color of the header. So that's when we start to get into the project management of it all. And that's what you're going to be doing increasingly, is working out what needs to be fixed, what needs to be created, what features do we need to add, what do we need to remove, what do we need to harden up. You become a builder through natural language. So how do you build on this? What I wanted to show you today is how to get started with Claude Code, how to build your first toy project and how to see it. Now that's fine, but when you want to actually build something, especially something that you're going to be using on a daily basis or potentially even packaging up and selling, we need a progression pathway. The first thing you need to learn how to do, and I'm not covering it in this presentation, is how to structure a project. You can talk to Claude about this. You can get it to interview you and say, hey, this is the project that I want to work on. Can you help me put together a project plan? Can you help me structure the project inside of Claude Code? And it will help you with that process. It will help you create things like claude.md, the markdown file. It knows the best practices to structure and plan itself. So that's what we're going to start doing when we work on larger projects. You also need to learn how to deploy. I showed you briefly how we would deploy on localhost, and that's how I managed to get Space Invaders running on my local computer. But if you want people to be able to use it, then you're going to have to deploy it on a web server. So that's something that you will need to learn. So that is going to be the next step. I personally use Vercel. You could use Netlify. There are many different hosts. You're also going to learn how to add a backend. So this right here, this is basically a flat file. It's a bit of code which loads up in a browser, very basic. Let's say, however, you're building a web app and you want different people to be able to access it. Then you're going to need a database sitting in the background that has their usernames, it has their passwords, it has their credentials, it has their progress through your application, etc., all in a secure container. For that, we use backend services. I personally use Supabase. There's also Firebase. There are many alternatives here. But these are all different stages, all different things that you're going to be learning along the way as you start to build and as you start to create more complex applications. A lot of people will try to do all of this immediately, right out of the gate. That means you're more likely to run into problems and not be able to build something immediately like this Space Invader game, which shows you the power of vibe coding. 100% you will learn all of this, but just get started, just start building, and these things will come naturally. I'm thinking about putting together a structured course starting with Lovable to help you get the bug for vibe coding, moving you on to Claude Code, helping you learn how to structure, plan, deploy, expand, and moving on from there. But for now, just start playing around. This is the stack that I use: Supabase for my backend storage, for my deployment and hosting, and then Claude Code does all of the development and sits in between.